Hey, what's up guys? Back again with another video. So over the last month or so, there's been some hype surrounding a Sega Megadrive clone from China by Fei Hao that has HDMI outputs. And in today's video, we are going to take a look at the unit, give it the usual modern vintage gamer review, teardown, compare it to an original system, and give my overall impressions of the unit. This Megadrive clone was built by Chinese company Fei Hao. It costs around $46 plus shipping, which to the USA ended up costing me around $67 shipped to my door. Shipping took about 2 weeks and I was eager to test it out. The packaging job was pretty poor. They used the box itself to protect the insides with. I didn't really care about that, but if someone who's more of a collector and wants to keep all the packaging including the box, you may want to ask the seller to package it up better for you. Opening up the box, you get two wireless 2.4 GHz 6-button controllers, an 18-in-1 bootleg game cartridge, a power cable, a standard AV composite cable, an HDMI cable, and the star of the show, the game console. The game console is an almost exact replica of a Sega Megadrive Model 1. It works with original cartridges and supports original controllers. If we place it side by side with an original system, you can see they are virtually identical. Now, I've read reviewers claim that the plastic feels cheaper, but I can't notice any difference at all. In fact, if we compare the weight of the console to an original, we find that the original Megadrive weighs in at 1 pound 9 ounces and the clone at 1 pound and 4 ounces. The difference can be attributed to the motherboard, which I will show later on. On the back of the unit is the standard composite output and HDMI output, which renders at 720p. This switch is to switch the region from North America to Japan. It's a nice touch, but what's missing is an option for PAL region. On the side contains the expansion port cover, but there is no expansion port header. No big surprises there, but what's cool is that the expansion cover can be used on a real Megadrive as shown here. Like I said, the cases are virtually identical. I tested the composite video output on my Commodore 1702 color monitor. Good first impressions. The frame rate is at 60 frames per second as it should be, and the sound seems to be on point as well. So one thing I wanted to talk about before we start the comparison with an original system is how I perform the captures. Now, I captured everything using my Micomsoft SC512 capture card, which is a pretty high quality capture device. The other thing I wanted to mention is the video and audio captures have not had any type of post-processing applied to them whatsoever. So what you see on the screen is what you get. So I captured composite video output with the clone and a real Megadrive. The timing on the clone device is spot on and it never loses sync with the original. The colors, however, are a little off. They are more vibrant and have a few levels of contrast applied that compared to the original, which is more natural of a color palette. But to be fair, it's hard to notice this unless you side by side them, but it's definitely worth pointing out. Moving on to the audio, the biggest issue is that it outputs in mono only, and there is no way to output stereo sound at all, either by the HDMI output, the left and right audio in the composite output, or via the headphone jack, which outputs stereo sound on an original Model 1 Megadrive. This is a little disappointing. Okay, so we know we only have mono output only, but how does the sound actually compare to an original Model 1? Take a listen for yourself. Overall, the sound isn't bad, but it's missing the low-end bass and dynamic range and seems to compress all the sound in the mid-range. Most games sound okay, but some games like Gunstar Heroes sound like an absolute distorted mess. So, what about the HDMI output? I mean, that's why we're all here, right? Well, it's pretty good. It outputs a nice 720p picture. It's a little soft, and I do wish maybe the image was a tad sharper, but overall I can't complain. So I tested a bunch of games, and I'm interested to hear your feedback. Let me know in the comments below what you think of it. And if you're wondering how it looked on a modern 4K HD TV, here's how it looks on mine. I also tried out some Megadrive demos and Homebrew, and everything I tried worked just fine. Here's a few of the popular demos that I tested. Some other reviewers claim that Everdrives don't work, but this is incorrect. My Mega Everdrive version 1 works perfectly fine, as you can see. I tried a few Master Systems games. There are some minor graphical glitching on Ghouls and Ghosts, but this seems to be the exception. I haven't experienced any glitching on other titles to date. I also tested a Japanese region game, and that worked as expected. And for the next thing, I tested to see if battery backup saves work. I tried this with my original Shining Force North America cartridge, and yep, it saves and loaded up my save just fine. Good stuff. Next thing I tested was the input lag on the bundled controllers. While they are cheap, the buttons have a satisfying click to them, and I tested the input lag compared to an original Megadrive pad. As we can see, there may be an additional 1 or 2 frames, but all things considered, this isn't too bad at all. Take a look for yourself. And as always on this channel, let's open this thing up and take a look at the insides. Opening this thing up is pretty simple. Just remove these 6 screws underneath with a Phillips head screwdriver, with one of the screws being under the quality control sticker. I'm assuming this means that I avoided the warranty or something. Now once they are removed, turn the console back upright and lift the top portion off. Inside we see there's 3 small PCBs. One is for the controllers, the middle one contains the Megadrive on a chip solution, and the last one is for the power and video encoders. All 3 boards are connected with ribbon cables that are hot glued to each other. Now going back to the weight comparison from earlier, I believe if you put in an original Megadrive motherboard into the case, the weights would be almost identical. Well, that about wraps it up, guys. Let me know what you thought about the Fei Hao Chinese Megadrive clone. I'm pretty happy with the unit. You know, there are some issues that I have with it, but overall they're pretty minor. And for 45 bucks, honestly, you really can't go wrong. Now, I do wish that they would come up with a new revision of this, you know, we'll call it revision 2 or something like that, which does address some of the issues that I have with it. But, you know, for 45 bucks, it's pretty hard to complain. Now, I will leave a link in the description below about where I ordered my unit from, so feel free to check it out if you are interested. But, you know, I can give this unit a thumbs up. For what it is and for the price point, it's a very, very cool piece of kit, especially when you consider it to the debacle that the AtGames Megadrive system turned out to be. This is a far superior product. I wouldn't consider the AtGames at all in any shape or fashion. Please, 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 you know, do not pick that thing up for anything. It's an absolute waste. Now, I have heard some rumors and some talk that what was reviewed by the reviewers out there for the AtGames unit was not the final product, and there's some firmware updates to come. But even the fact that you have to apply firmware updates really just, you know, concludes the fact that it's just a cheap emulation device. This is actually a Megadrive on a chip solution, which means that it's a lot more authentic. And as we saw in the comparison videos, you know, the speed and performance is absolutely identical to a real system. The only drawbacks obviously are, you know, there's some issues with the color palette where it's not quite right compared to the original, as well as the sound, which is obviously in mono. And of course that the sound is very, you know, compressed in the mid-range, and there's really not much bass at all. It doesn't really have that authentic, you know, Yamaha YM Sega sound that we have grown up with. I will leave a link about where to purchase one of these from in the description below, so check that out. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Bye for now.